An upcoming case in the Supreme Court has Justice Amy Coney Barrett under attack. Activists are demanding that she recuse herself because of her Catholic faith. The case in question, 303 Creative LLC versus Elenis, at issue free speech and whether a web designer should be compelled to create websites for same-sex weddings. Joining us with more on the story is Sean Coney, CEO and president of 40 Days for Life. Sean, great to see you again. All right, let's get right to it here. Tell us a little bit more about the Supreme Court case and really what's at stake here.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is absurd. I mean, Amy Coney Barrett, who everybody should be celebrating, whether you're a feminist or whether you're a lawyer or whether you're a Catholic, they want her to recuse herself from this case because she's a Catholic. And it really shows for us, this is the gift of EWTN, this is the gift of living in this time period as Catholics, because it is completely acceptable to hate Catholics and to have bigotry against them. So because she's pro-life, because she's a woman, and because the church in her richness has teachings on homosexuality and on abortion, she should recuse herself. So you are not allowed to be a Catholic woman. There are other Catholics on the Supreme Court. They weren't asking the men to recuse themselves. You're not allowed to be a Catholic woman and be pro-life in our country. There perhaps is not a more hated group of people, which is going to hurt you, Tracy, in America, than Catholic pro-life women. And they don't really apologize for it. They don't hide it. They do things like this where they just say she should have no role in this case because she's a Catholic. And they didn't say anything about Thomas or Alito, who are Catholics.
Yeah, I mean, it really does feel like, to me at least, hearing all of this, it's sort of a vendetta against her as a Catholic woman, as you mentioned. I also wanted to ask you about a recent piece in the New York Times reporting that the primary source of political violence is the Republican Party. What's that all about? And what's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, they just made it up. I guess if you make stuff up, you can have a great career at the New York Times or in a lot of media outlets these days. The FBI director said the opposite. He said that 70% of the cases of violence surrounding the issue of abortion were against pro-life people. They weren't, being done by pro-life people. They were against pro-life people. And we've seen just 40 Days for Life right now. We're defending one of our volunteers, Mark, in Philadelphia, who had his house raided by the FBI. And I have the picture of the FBI, on his porch. And they kept saying, no, we didn't have AR-15s. And they did. I have the picture. It's like, we know what an AR-15 looks like. The persecution has been from our government towards pro-lifers, but just the violence that the New York Times is not giving the facts on at all. The violence is being done on the pro-lifers 80% of the time. And so to just not report that, I don't know why they highlighted it, because it doesn't support their point. They're trying to say pro-lifers are, right-wing, crazy, religious, violent people. And the FBI, who has no interest in helping the pro-life movement, is saying the opposite. So it's really, it has no point, and it's not true. And it just shows they're trying to fabricate this case against pro-life people because Dobbs overturned Roe.
Sean, unfortunately, we're almost out of time, but I want to get your final thoughts on all of this. And also, really quickly, let's touch on that group, Jane's Revenge, who really has been sort of at the center of a lot of these attacks to pro-life centers.
Yeah, they've attacked pro-life centers. They firebombed clinics. They did a cyber attack on 40 Days for Life when we did our post-Roe webcast this summer. They are loud and proud, and they are dangerous. And I wish the FBI would investigate them and not us, who have 1 million volunteers peacefully praying. But that's the way it is, and the work is not done. We're going to keep going. And there's a lot of abortion facilities closing, and there's a lot of babies being saved.
Yeah, and Sean, we're going to leave it right there. And we thank you and your organization for everything that you're doing. God bless you.
Thank you.